People don't realize that Superman is a firefighter, not a cop. And I was like, that is the perfect analogy, because yes, Superman is not there to enforce the law. Superman's purpose is simply to save people from harm. That is it. James Gunn made this movie as a direct response to the moment that we're in right now.
Yes.
We're in this like kind of concerning moment right now where so many people, specifically men, associate strength with dominance rather than restraint. A lot of the superhero content that we get has played into that recently. I think the Snyderverse played into it heavily.
Yeah.
Traditionally, that's not what superhero content did. Like traditionally, the thing that makes all these characters so strong is that they practice restraint. That has kind of gotten lost recently, and I think that's directly tied to the trends that we're seeing in young boys and young men. I think it's directly tied to incel culture. It's directly tied to attitudes towards women. I think it's directly tied to Donald Trump. And I really think that James Gunn took on this story to jumpstart his universe, because this is the strongest superhero that there is.
Yeah.
He chose that superhero to tell a story about gentleness. Crazy Stupid Podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching, we'd love it if you could hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell so that you are aware of when we post things.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crazy Stupid Podcast. My name is Esther.
And I'm Adrian.
And we're here today to talk about the new Superman movie.
Yes.
James Gunn. Let's just dive in. It's just so good.
Before we even move forward with any of our thoughts, this will be a full spoiler review. So if you have not seen Superman, this is your warning to go and skedaddle out of here. First and foremost, just shout out to James Gunn. I'll get into a little bit more praise a little bit later on for more specific things, but I do want to just start off just with the way that he starts this film. He's like, all right, y'all, we've seen this a billion times. We don't need to go through the whole backstory. I'm just going to let y'all know, like, bulleted points. Here's how it started. Here's how he got here. Here's what he's been up to. And he's in the middle of a fight. All right, let's go.
A lot of superhero movies now have been doing that.
Yeah.
I think just because we are at a point now where we've seen so many iterations of these heroes that, we don't need the actual origin. Like the Batman did that. The way that Marvel introduced Spider-Man did that.
That's true. Yeah.
It kind of seems like Fantastic Four might do that too. Yeah, we're just at a point where we've seen these characters so many times. You don't have to start from the very beginning every single time.
I tried going into this movie not comparing it to the Zack Snyder Man of Steel, and it was really hard not to because there were so many things that I just feel like it's hard for me to say it because I love Zack Snyder.
It's not hard for me.
I know, but James Gunn just did certain things better, and I think he understood who Superman is. For starters, in Man of Steel, you see these moments where Clark is even wrestling with, like, are these humans even worth me saving? He asked that. His question, his dad was like, should I just let those people die? And his dad was like, I don't know, maybe. Huh? What do you mean, bro? No. So the scene that Clark gets with his dad in this film is that Superman. There is no questioning about who Superman should be saving because that was instilled in him through his parents in Smallville. That is a core theme that what makes Superman different than other superheroes. Or minor things like when he's fighting bad guys, he's not trying to destroy the city. Oh my God. Little things like him punching the kaiju and then going around to try to block it from entering to the city. And then while it's happening, he's looking back and saying like, hey, are you guys good? He saves a dog. He saves a girl. He saves a squirrel in all of that. And throughout all that process, he's thinking about how can I minimize the amount of not just casualties, but how can I minimize the debris and the destruction in the way of everything that's happening? Because he's literally thinking about this out. How can I solve this whole thing without this kaiju just like destroying the place? Even thinking about like, how can I do it without even killing the kaiju, right? You can tell that like Snyder came in with an idea of what he wanted Superman to be. But Gunn came in because he knew who Superman was.
James Gunn made this movie as a direct response to the moment that we're in right now.
Yes.
sociopolitically, geopolitically. I think that there is a reason why the Snyderverse resonated with the fans that it resonated with. Another creator actually made just such a great point that I think kind of sums all this up so well. Jamal Berkmar, he just makes really great film content. Just love everything that he makes. I'm like, wow, your mind. But he made a video about this Superman movie, this Superman movie before it came out, and about the dialogue around it. And one of the things that he said was that we're in this like kind of concerning moment right now where so many people, specifically men, associate strength with dominance rather than restraint. And so a lot of the superhero content that we get has played into that recently. I think the Snyderverse played into it heavily. Yeah. And traditionally, that's not what superhero content did. Mm-hmm. Like, traditionally, superhero content was about the fact that, like, the thing that makes all these characters so strong is that they practice restraint. Yeah. That's why you have characters like Superman, like Spider-Man, even Batman, who are like, rule. Yeah. They hold to that because they understand, like, the difference between me and the people that I'm up against is that I have the ability to destroy them, but I won't. And that has kind of gotten lost recently. And I think that's directly tied to the trends that we're seeing in young boys and young men. I think it's directly tied to incel culture. It's directly tied to attitudes towards women. I think it's directly tied to Donald Trump. I think there's just so much right now that's just wrapped up in this culture of domination. And I really think that James Gunn took on this story to jumpstart his universe, because this is the strongest superhero that there is. Yeah. And he chose that superhero to tell a story about gentleness and about a different kind of masculinity that doesn't define itself by its ability to win and dominate, but rather by its ability to serve, to protect, to save, to cherish, to show weakness, to own their mistakes. The very beginning of this movie, when you see the bullet point that's like, 3 minutes ago, Superman just lost his first fight. I thought that this was going to be about his ego has been hurt because he lost his first fight ever. It's going to make him question himself and question his strengths. And that's not what happened. He was not at all bothered by the fact that he lost, because this version of Superman is not here to win. He's here to save and to serve people. And as long as he is doing that, he considers it a success. Yeah. And he spends so much of the movie not winning. He spends so much of the movie, and not out of like he's not strong enough to defeat them, but because he prioritizes saving and caring for weaker people and beings in his vicinity over trying to overpower his enemy.
I know everyone's talking about when Lois is like you think everyone is beautiful, and he's like, well, maybe that's the punk rock. Like that idea has turned unpopular. Mm-hmm. Like in the world that we're living in right now, especially in our country right now, the idea of empathy is seen so unpopular. And Gunn trying to frame Superman as presenting this idea as something edgy, as something that's kind of on the fringe in the way that you see people talk about each other, especially like online or in the political discourse, placing Superman in the center to use that message. Magnificent.
It's amazing. And it's not just empathy, it's optimism.
Yes.
Right? Like, we're in this moment right now of like cynicism and everything is cringe, and there's just this culture of like, it's like joy is not cool. It's
right.
Like, it's like there's just like so many things. And I think you're just you're just absolutely right that making Superman the person giving this message it's masterful. And my only fear is that the people who need it most will be the loudest critics of it. I just didn't really engage that much in the Snyderverse, so I couldn't make those juxtapositions.
Yeah, it's fine.
Who I was kind of juxtaposing this against, honestly, was Batman a little bit, because Batman has a no-kill rule also, but Batman, as we understand him, kind of does present as a hero who was there. He's there to enforce.
Sure.
And like that's visualized a lot of the time by like the types of crime that he intervenes in, but also by his really strong alliance with the police.
Yeah, they put his sign up anytime they want.
Yeah. And like the police are always such a huge part of Batman movies and stories because of that. I mean, obviously you have Gordon and all that stuff. I saw in some comment section, it might have been on that Jamal Burkmar video, there was some comment where somebody was like, people don't realize that Superman is a firefighter, not a cop. And I was like, that is the perfect analogy, because yes, Superman is not there to enforce the law. Superman is not there to prevent criminal activity. Like that's not the purpose of Superman. Superman's purpose is simply to save people from harm. That is it. I love the conversation that he had with Lois when they were interviewing them. I have so much to say about the representation of Lois in this movie.
Oh yeah.
That we'll get into, but not even to get into that part of the conversation. But the conversation that he had with Lois was so interesting because she's asking questions about legality, and his response is like, this is morality. Yeah. Like I am not here as a representative of the United States, which is also, Superman has a long history of patriotic symbolism.
Sure.
And they did a lot to detach that in this film that I appreciated. He was saying like, I'm not here as a representative of the United States. I'm not here thinking about the legality of things. I'm not here to enforce any sort of laws. I'm simply here to stop people from being harmed. That's it. And I think she asked really valid questions about like how successful that was, right? Given like he was a little bit reckless with the way that he did it. Yeah. But it says so much about how he sees his role as a hero.
Call it naivete, call it, well-intended ignorance, but I appreciated that moment because Clark is not thinking about the political ramifications, and the need to oversimplify it is perhaps the best way to view that situation happening over there. Like I remember Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I was going to talk about this too.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. Say it.
Ta-Nehisi Coates goes on an interview and he's getting grilled by these people about like his stance and his opinion on what's happening in Gaza, and he's like, listen, I'm not here to talk about all the intricacies of it. He's just saying apartheid is wrong. Is wrong. There are no scenarios where apartheid is justified. There are no scenarios where you can say this is the best course of action for any group of people. And if I see that it's wrong, it's just that simple. And that simplicity in that conviction is why I feel like so many people resonate with Superman, because they see atrocities and wrongdoings in the same lane. They're not seeing things from a bureaucratic lens that politicians and presidents and governors are seeing. They're saying, bro, I'm seeing what's happening overseas. I'm looking at it with my own two eyes. It looks wrong. You know what I mean? And that simplicity is why so many people just gravitate toward it.
The way they handled Lex Luthor in this movie, I think, was so good. Because, okay, there's a couple of things. Number one, like the villainy that we're seeing in this movie on multiple levels is defined by a lack of restraint and by domination. First and foremost, actually, the fear that people have about Superman is that he is the type of hero that real world critics want him to be.
Yeah.
That's the fear that people have about him in the film. They are scared that he is here to dominate and to overpower and take over. But then what you see is the same people that are pushing those ideas, they are the ones who embody that themselves, right? Like Lex and the president of Boravia, I can't remember the name of the country. They are the ones that are embodying those principles, actually. They are the ones who are on an imperialistic rampage right now. They are the ones that are trying to invade and take over a country for their own monetary gain. And also, they are the ones that are lacking in restraint, right? We see how Lex Luthor, when it comes down, when things are getting serious and his team is looking at him like, what you about to do about this rift in the universe? And he refuses to close it down because it would get in the way of him achieving his own personal goals. It's of the lack of restraint that makes him so terrible. They show us that he's extremely brilliant. They show us how smart he is. They show us all of these things. But in the end, what makes him so terrible is that he doesn't know when to stop.
Right.
And he's just Elon Musk.
Okay, yeah. In my notes, I literally just put Elon.
He's just Elon Musk.
That's literally what I put, bro.
And Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg, like he's that's literally what he represents, obviously. But I also think that the way that he is defeated is so important too, because they don't take him seriously. I think like there's like Superman's not even the one who really takes him out.
Yeah, it's his dog.
Right. Like there's a way that you could have done this where you kind of give him that last moment where he like says his spiel, he says the thing or whatever, but instead in the end they take him down like he's a joke.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve that.
Exactly. And I think that that's exactly how you have to handle these real world people. Like sometimes appealing to people's morality in these conversations doesn't always work, but if you're just like they're a joke, like they're not serious, like they are just an unserious people, and not that they're not serious threats, but that their actual motives and the things that they say that they are driven by are not worth listening to.
What Tim Wall say, these guys are weird, bro.
Right.
Yeah. But also I think James Gunn is showing in characters like Lex, but also some other characters, the fragility in their confidence. It's a facade. Yeah. But also some other instances, Clark's coworker, when he talks about his parents, this idea of like looking down at like rural Midwest people, but then when things are falling apart, he's like crying over the phone. I think those are all tied together because when you look at some of the other male characters, like Jimmy, Mr. Terrific, same thing with Perry White. When the world's falling apart and all the other men are being all chaotic, Jimmy and Perry, they're with Lois, calm, trying to still put everything
locked
together.
In. Even like there's so much like frazzled energy and just like this apparent weakness to me when they're like, okay, can I put in the code now? Yeah. And he's like, no, they chose him over me, so let them die. Right. Like there's just so much, like, I don't think there's any way to read that sentence as strength. No. I don't think there's any way. It's just pure, it's insecurity. That's all it is. It's insecurity that's bleeding through all of the choices that he makes. Yeah. And yeah, I think you're so right. He did a great job pointing that out.
And I think, I remember John Oliver sort of pointing this out when they did an episode on Musk, when people that they interviewed, they were like, Musk wants the world to be saved, but he wants to be the one to do it.
He wants people to like him.
Yes, he wants people to praise him. He wants people to love him. And then Lex Luthor has that line. He was like, the last few months, he's just been at the world's center of attention. And he hated that. He couldn't stand that there was someone getting in his way of being remembered as the greatest man to ever live. He couldn't compute that in his head. There's moments there. Microaggressions kicking in. He calls Superman a Martian and he's like, I'm actually Kryptonian. And he's like, same difference. Yeah. So much there that you can pull from his character. He doesn't see him as human.
I mean, just a quick aside, he literally detains him without due process because the courts decided he has no rights due to his legal status.
Hey, man. Guys, come on. If you're struggling to see the political allegory of the Superman movie, y'all, we said it with Star Wars, bro. These directors are like, no more metaphors because y'all are dumb as hell. And James Gunn did the same thing. We saw it with Andor. We see it with Superman. They're just like, I don't know, y'all. Y'all not reading enough no more. So we'll get you in the theater and we'll just put it in your face and tell you this is what we're trying to get across.
I feel like this is a direct response to like how dire the actual situation we're in is. Yes. It's just like things are so dire because even it's like you say the same thing with The Boys. Yeah. Like all of these shows, although sorry, I just remembered how people have been responding to The Boys and Homelander. Anyways.
Listen. But even with The Boys, people have been critiquing the subtlety, but I think the showrunners know also we're in a crisis moment.
The point that we are at right now in reality is one where we can no longer afford subtlety. Yes. It just is what it is. Yeah. I want to talk just real quick about the speech that Superman gives at the very end. Yeah. There's so many ways that you could have written that speech. The fact that the very first things that he says are, I love, I get scared, I make mistakes, all of these things that I just feel like men are running away from right now, about being loving, about showing your fear and showing your emotion. I just feel like it's like he's trying so hard to talk to the incels, man. Yeah. He's trying so hard.
I appreciate what James Gunn does with Lois in this movie because she's not a love interest, like not in the traditional sense. She's not there for like any fridging moment. She's not there to be like some kind of like pixie girl. Like she has her own story. She has her own story arc, her own character arc. She has her own identity that is not intrinsically tied to Clark. Right, like she has a commanding presence that I feel like that is Lois. There is a fierceness to her that is necessary because of the line of work that she does and how she does her journalism. There is a way that she wants to be seen as ethical and moral. Like Clark jokes and calls her Cronkite, but like Walter Cronkite, everybody views him as like the greatest reporter in the history of our country. So you can say that as a joke. She will not take it that way. She's going to take it as a compliment. But even something as simple as like Clark sees this as like Luffy of like, okay, but it doesn't need to be off the record. And she's like, no, even though you are my boyfriend, I'm still going to abide by the rules of journalism because all of that matters, especially when you compare it to the talk show hosts that
Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I was gonna go like Bill O'Reilly, but I guess it's the same thing. She's not just gonna be this character that we've seen before. And to be clear, Superman doesn't save Lois at all in this movie. That never happens.
She saves him, if anything,
multiple times. Yes, and people may be frustrated with how she's interrogating him, but she understands how social media works now. She understands how journalism works now. If you are not getting ahead of this story, Clark, people will define who Superman is for you. And her asking those tough questions, giving him the chance to answer was important. I think all of that matters when you're trying to create a character that people care about. And so by the end of this movie, I've fallen in love with all of them because they're all fleshed out.
A lot of the times, at least in like the movie adaptations of Superman stories, Lois, and I will say this isn't just true about Lois. I think this is true about MJ. I think this is true about a lot of the superhero love interests. They exist mostly to provide stakes for the superhero. Yeah. Especially with somebody like Superman that you know is like not much can happen to him, you know? Like he's just so strong. Right. That it's like it seems like a lot of the times they put her in to weaken him, to make us that there's something that he can lose and worry about. And that's how you get all the classic like, oh, she's falling off a building. Gotta go and get her. You know, all of those.
What was that voice?
I don't know. But yes, I would 100% agree. In this story, that's not how she functions at all. If anything, she functions as she has, like you were saying, she has an arc in and of herself. But in relation to Superman, she strengthens him. Yeah. And when she's having that conversation with him and she talks about how, you know, she's like a very skeptical person. She's always asking questions. She's always, you know, suspicious. And he's the opposite of that. For her, that skepticism, it makes her just like, she's like relentless in her search for the truth, right? She's a really good journalist. I love, like, they show that in this film so well and so clearly because she's going to keep digging no matter what. And I think we first see that in that conversation with Clark. She's asking those questions of him because she's trying to unearth the truth. She's trying to unearth the truth, not just about what happened, but about why he did it, what motivated him to do it. Why did he do it the way that he went about it? Does he truly believe that he went about it in the best way? Like all of those things are questions worthy of asking of him. And they're questions worthy, like he should ask himself. It's important to look at yourself, especially when you're somebody who is this powerful. Mm-hmm. You're this powerful and you're this strong and you have so much impact with whatever you do. It is important to be able to question yourself and question what you're doing. And I really love that that's what she represents in this story as a journalist and in her own career and her own arc, and also in her relationship with Clark.
Yep. Hey, bro, I'm gonna just keep it a beat with you, bro. James Gunn, you got balls of steel, bro.
This is the thing that I want to say, because I feel like I have been under the impression, I think many people have been under the impression, that these big studios will only let you go so far in like the commentary that you put in. I do think what James Gunn has shown in this film is that if the movie hits,
they'll let it go.
They won't let you say some stuff.
Because Andor, they did it too.
Yeah, that's very true. If they know this is good content and people will watch it,
they'll spend the capital on it. Yeah.
Because I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. Hot Girl was like, that's her name? Hot Girl? Hot Girl was like, I'm not him.
Bye-bye. And what's so, you know what I find so funny about the timing of the superhero movie? We all understood that we couldn't trust Benjamin Netanyahu, but New York Times drops an article showing how he had used the war to prolong his presidency in office. The timing of that article with this Superman movie, I just feel like, I don't know, man, there's moments where I'm like, this feels like divine intervention to some degree, bro. I'm sure Gunn, as intelligent as he is, understands in some aspects there is political and social nuance in overall conversations. But some of the things, there is a simplicity in the morality because wrong is wrong in what we're seeing. And him using Superman, whose moral compass has a simplicity to it, I feel like is one of the perfect ways I have seen any allegory touch on what we're seeing over in Gaza. I think James Gunn understands something about superhero movies that I feel like a lot of people have missed, not including people like Nolan or Ryan Coogler. The need to slow down. It is an art form that I don't think every superhero movie director or showrunner knows how to do it. What I mean by that is the scene that Clark has with Lois, for many directors, in my opinion, that would have been the moment where the movie slows down for them. And then for the rest of the last act, just nonstop action constantly, right? Gunn recognized that I've already been moving at a very fast pace for at least a cool hour. And then he brings us to that moment where people, a lot of showrunners, a lot of directors would have been like, that's enough, right? But Gunn, he brings us another action scene, and then it slows down at the perfect moment when Clark goes and visits his parents on the farm. It is at that moment where I'm like, okay, everything is going to land beautifully, right? Because you get the groundedness, you get the emotional attachment to these characters, and you get the real conviction of the main character now. Everything is tied together beautifully. The ability to understand and the ability to know the need to have that in your stories is important. And Gunn has been very clear, like, people, they don't just want mindless turn your brain off, pew pew pow pow for like a cool 2 hours, right? You can use these to tell incredibly in-depth and powerful stories. And him understanding that, I think Nolan has done it in a number of instances, but Ryan Coogler does that so well also. The need to say, like, okay, we just need to take a moment and ground our characters just a couple of times throughout the film, and then we can allow ourselves to get back into the action so that everything that's happening afterwards just has more meaning.
Yeah.
When people describe things like, I'm sorry, but in Captain America, some of those things did feel soulless because there wasn't meaning attached to it. You don't feel that in that second half of this movie because he took time to slow it down, bro. And it is such an important and necessary tool that is necessary for all stories. But when you're dealing with things like superheroes, where so much of it is just action and fighting, you need that more, I would argue, than in other mediums, or people will turn their brain off and it won't mean anything in the end. So I want to just give my appreciation to him because it's such an underrated thing that I feel like it's almost a lost art in the superhero genre. At least we're feeling it a little bit now.
This just reminded me, dang, I'm dropping this guy's name a lot. Everybody go follow Jamal Brickbar if you don't. But this just reminded me of something else that he said that is so true. Like, a lot of the times when we go see these superhero movies that are just kind of like meh, you know, like trying to give an
Black
example.
Adam.
Yeah, like things like that. a lot of times the defense that people come away with is like, it's just fun. Like, it's just a fun movie. And like, you know, and that's the defense for it, right? Like, it's not trying to do too much. Like, it's just fun. It's just a good time.
Yeah.
Jamal had this great video where he was talking about how like we need to defend fun and stop trying to detach it from meaning.
Yeah.
Like, we can do both, and we should be expecting the directors who are putting these films in front of us to do both. And I think that Ryan Coogler has shown that multiple times. I think that James Gunn has shown that multiple times. You can have a movie that is fun, that is entertaining, that you want to see over and over and over again, that is also well done, highly crafted, and that has meaning and is trying to do and say something. Thunderbolts is an example too.
Yeah, bro.
Even though y'all let that movie down. What I like also about this movie was that he does such a good job of just like embracing the weirdness.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
that's just comic book stories in general.
yeah, like this movie, it was like, you quickly adapt to the idea of like, oh, people here are just accustomed to this. It helps with the world building, and it helps to, it helps. You don't have to like put your logic away too much, because it's like, believable. Oh no, yeah, within this world, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Great film.
Such a great start to the franchise.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, very on board. I think this must be like a sigh of relief for James Gunn, to have the weight of a studio on your back, bro. Because if this flops, bro, Warner Brothers might not have survived, honestly. Like, genuinely. There were rumors of bankruptcy. There were rumors of them selling.
To who, Disney?
No, not to Disney, but we don't know where it could have gone. But regardless, it would have been terrible to have larger monopolies in this space. Leaves for even less room for creativity in a space where we desperately need it. Those are our thoughts. We'd love to hear what you all think about this movie. Did you love it? Let us know why. If you didn't love it, let us also know why. We appreciate both conversations that you guys bring. Let us know in the comments below. And with that, we will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.